Welcome back. This time we're talking about NBC's The Good Place, Season 2, Episode 5, Existential Crisis. This episode picks up with our four heroes now once again going through the torture of the fake Good Place. Only now it's being run by Vicky and her cohorts who think that they've finally gotten one over on Michael. Of course, Eleanor, Chidi, Hani, and Jason are just playing along and know they're actually in the bad place now. Vicky's latest scheme is to have Hani plan a birthday party only for her to plan an even better one, which leaves Michael, Chidi, and Eleanor to continue with the ethics lessons. And of course, Michael is really just not paying attention, doesn't think any of this has anything to do with him until Chidi gets him to start thinking about the end. Michael is immortal and has never had to contemplate death. But if their plans fail and he's retired, he really will be wiped out of existence. And thus, we have our title, Existential Crisis, where Michael pretty much goes over the deep end, going into grief, going into overcompensating, essentially having a midlife crisis, and all kinds of other reactions in between until he's finally talked down by Eleanor. And it's through his interactions with Eleanor that we get a series of flashbacks seeing just how horrible a mother Eleanor's mother actually was. My God, that was a horrible woman. I mean, even in the case of dark comedy television series, Eleanor's mother is a piece of work. And all of this culminates with Eleanor having her own little mini breakdown. I think it was at Bed Bath & Beyond when she sees a family toothbrush holder. And this is what kind of ties her current arc in with what we saw with her reaction to learning that she had fallen in love with Chidi in previous iterations. And this idea that this weird group of four wayward souls and an immortal demon may sort of create this new family aspect for her that she's never had before. And it was an aspect of this episode that I really didn't see coming until it slapped me in the face at the end when she has her breakdown in the flashback, and something I really liked how they handled. Meanwhile, Michael's complete breakdown was just hilarious and some of the best acting of the season so far. On the flip side, we had Hani pretending to be tortured by the fact that her party was being outshone by the people ruling this world. But, of course, she allows herself to get pulled into it, thinking that she could actually outdo them because that's what her skills are. And, of course, ultimately fails, which, makes the torture actually work, even though she knew what was coming. And she's ultimately talked down by the unlikely sage of this season, Jason. We saw him help Michael earlier in the season, and now he has some wise words to give to Hani. Never thought I'd say Jason and wise words in the same sentence before, but here we have the second time already. And, it was a really touching moment, and apparently got a lot more touching because we get to see that they apparently slept together. And speaking of good acting, I love the way the expressions on her face when she realized what happened. It was shock, a little bit of horror, and then when Jason, just his happy-go-lucky giddiness that is Jason, when he runs off to go get something, there's that last little smile at the end. It was a really nice scene. Played great for laughs as well as for emotion. I was a big fan of Jason and Janet in the first season, so I'm curious to see where they go with it in this season with him and Hani. So this was really Michael's episode. He was the one that had the biggest arc, although just about everyone other than Chidi had one themselves. With Hani kind of recognizing how shallow she had lived her life, and that they designed torture for her about party planning, and it actually worked. And then, of course, we got to see with Eleanor dealing with her family issues, although that was more of a revelation for us than true character growth in this particular episode, but it goes to show where how far she's come so far. So that was essentially it. The main plot really didn't get moved forward too much, other than we get to see Vicky gloating with Michael over the fact that they're now running the neighborhood. So, as always, we're just have to wait to see what happens next. But this was another good episode, mixed, a nice mix of emotion and some really, really funny comedy. Possibly some of the funniest stuff that we've seen this season so far. So, that's my thoughts on this episode, Existential Crisis. So I'll turn it over to you. What did you think of this episode? What were your favorite moments? And I'll ask for more speculation again. What do you think is going to happen next? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some other reviews, and until next time, try not to break any mortal beings.